Hello, Ron Briggs at Blackmore Vale Honey, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at electrics, so stay tuned and let's get on with it. So like I said, today we're going to be looking at electricery. We're in a position, we've got the ceiling finished, it's all insulated, all the expanding foam's been put in there, and it's now ready for me to start thinking about some electrics. The walls aren't done yet, but I'd rather do the electrics and some of the plumbing before we put the insulation and board up the walls. So that's why we're going to be doing the electrics now. It's what, 20th of October, and this video might rock on a couple of weeks because next couple of weeks a bit busy. Next weekend's the Honey Show, so I'm going to be up there. There's some really good lectures, really looking forward to that. Get some bargains, get me foundation from the wax exchange, get some jars from Freeman and Harding. That's always a good thing up at the show, and to meet, you know, like-minded beekeepers. So that's going to be good. Looking forward to that. My bees, no change really. The ones that are being fed are still being fed, and those that weren't being fed have still not been fed. And we're beyond the point now for sugar, for syrup. So if they need feeding, we'll probably go straight to fondant. But there we are, so that's where we're at. So electricity. Let me start by saying the same thing I said when we put the feed into the building. Electricity is dangerous, guys. Don't mess around with it if you're unsure. In fact, don't mess around with it unless you know what you're doing, or you've taken some advice. Electricity will kill you. It will seriously injure you. It will burn your house down. It will damage your house. It will damage your property. It will damage your equipment, and it can, you know, obviously damage you. So it really isn't the thing to mess around with. So I'm going to talk through some electricity, but I will say now I've got some experience, but all my tickets are way out of date and things have changed. So all my electrics, first of all, my future son-in-law, daughter's fiance, is an electrician. So everything I'm about to do is been talked through with him. Everything in this building at the moment is still not live. There's nothing live at all in this building. And he will be checking, once I've done it all, he will check and he will actually be doing the final wiring up. So yeah, so that's where we're at. So let's talk about my system. Okay, so this is a brand new project. So everything that's going into this building is new. So we can actually plan for exactly what we want. If you're making any changes or anything and doing electricity, we won't need this because it's all, everything's dead in here, but you definitely need one of these. I can't demonstrate to you because I've got nothing live in there, but basically put that onto a cable, and if it's live, it'll beep at you and tell you it's live. All right, so that is, if you're going to do any electrics tool, that is the first thing you need. All right, so we got to decide what's coming into our building. So because when it comes to electricity, there's so many factors that come into it. So for example, a cooker in your house will need a different size cable and a different size rating. Some showers, power showers, the more powerful they get, they're going to need a different size rating, a more powerful rating. Some machines that you might use have a different type rating. So when it comes to the building, know exactly what's going to go into the building and prepare for it. So coming into my building, there's nothing special. It's just going to be straightforward lights, straightforward electrics. So therefore, the first thing that needs to come, that we need, so the cable, the armoured cable that comes from outside to inside the honey house and gives us the power, is the first thing is to do is go into a consumer unit. So this consumer unit is metal, and it's designed for garages and for outbuildings. And all it's got on it is mini circuit breakers, and all it's got is 2 circuit breakers, one for sockets and one for lights, and then your main isolator. and that's all it is. Now, I don't need any more. I only got 2. If you're going to have lots of sockets, you might need a 3rd one for more sockets. If you look in your own consumer unit, you might see something like upstairs sockets, downstairs sockets, or kitchen sockets, because you can't have too much of a load on one circuit. And who's going to tell you that? An electrician, because he's had all the training, he's got all the books, and he'll be able to work out exactly what you need. So as I chatted with my electrician, is exactly as I thought. I just need the 2, one for sockets and one for lights. And you see they're rated. So these circuit breakers are rated for different things. So you've got the B6 there, which is for your lighting circuit, and the 16, which is going to be for my sockets. All right. So that's the first thing. So we're going to come from outside, inside, into this box. And then we're going to run from this box then to the various things we need. So as I mentioned earlier, you can get different sizes of cables. It's important that you put the right size cable to what you're doing. If you don't, it could heat up, it could melt, it could start a fire, it could electrocute you. So it's got to be right. So in this particular instance, we're only going to be using 2 cables. We're going to be using lighting cable, which is 1mm twin and earth. You can see that 1mm twin and earth. So the 1mm is the actual copper cable that's on the inside, and that's enough to power the lights. But you couldn't use this cable to do your sockets because it's just not beefy enough. And then we're going to be using 2.5 twin and earth, which is the heavier stuff, for the sockets. All right, so that's the only 2 cables that we're going to be using in here, because there's nothing in this building that's going to require more than that. Obviously, depending on what your building is going to be used for, you might want to put a bigger consumer unit in, different cables in, because you might want to future-proof it. In my building, the biggest things, I've got a warming cabinet. Again, that's just off an ordinary socket. The spinner, it's just off an ordinary socket. So that is all we need. Switches, and so that's it. So we've got those cables which are going to go to our various appliances. So we've got, as I said, the 2 circuits. We've got the sockets, which will be 1 ring main. And when I talk about a ring main, it's literally that. So it's the mains is that the mains is the power, and the ring means that the power goes from this box back to this box. So onto the sockets, there'll be a cable which will come out of this box. It will visit every single socket, and then the cable will come back in the box. So in effect, it goes both ways. The lighting is exactly the same, except the lighting doesn't go very far, because that's just going to go to the switches. It's just going to go to, there's only going to be 2 switches, one for the honey house and one when you come in into the storage area. There's not going to be one in the potting shed, although there is going to be cable sockets in there. So that's it. So that's all the ring main is. And then in my case, the only other things I've got going on in here is I've got a junction box, because all the lights in the honey house, is going to be 3 of them, are all coming off one switch. So all those lighting cables will go into this one box, and then one will come out to the actual switch. The sorts of sockets I'm using, they're all just either doubles or singles, and depending on where they are. There's a couple of heaters going in here. They're off singles, but everything else is off a double. The boxes we're going to be using some inset boxes. So that's where the box actually sits inside the cavity. So on the 2 internal walls, that's what they're going to be. And then on the outside walls, they will be back boxes. So the cable will come through the wall into the back of the box, and then that will sit proud on top of the in front of the wall. So that's it. So let's have a little look at it's getting going, and I'll show you what we need to do. So the insulation arrived yesterday. That's the 90mm Celotex type insulation. Well, it is Celotex, that's going to go into the walls. We may get an opportunity to start that today, later on today. But firstly, we've got to finish chasing these cables around. So let's show you where we're at. So that's where the consumer unit's going, and we've started with our 2.5mm ring main. So it is going into the roof there. So I'm going to go along the roof, and the first one is coming down here. There's the only electric socket in this storage area is going to be one for the heater, but this cable is going outside for an outside socket, which is going on that wall underneath the lean-to. It's not all the way in yet because it's got to go down through there, because the socket's going to be around about here. So it doesn't need to be in properly, so it comes out of there into there. Point to note though on that is you're not going to see a socket, so you're not going to see a cable, because the plug socket's going to be on the other side. And on this wall, we're going to be putting shelving on both walls. So we need to know where the electrics is, and as we're putting in, we will know. But if you're ever unsure, always make sure you check both sides. So before you do anything on this side of the wall, make sure you check the other side of the wall to see where any sockets will go. Now, the way cables need to run is they need to run vertically and horizontally from a source. So in here, where we have the plug socket, the cable's going to run down into that vertically. So you know directly above that socket, potentially there's a cable. So you'll know for when you're drilling or hanging pictures or hanging shelves or anything else you might be doing. Anyway, out of there, and then it's coming down here to three sockets on this wall, which are going to be on this wall because they're the walls in the actual honey house. Because on that back wall is where all the warming cabinet, fridges and freezers are going to be. So I don't know if you can see from there, it's going to be three sockets coming out where the holes are. 1, 2, 3, one over there. But we're doing the cabling from the other side. So it's coming down through there. Now, as well as running vertical, cables can also run horizontal. So we're quite within our rights to come out of that socket. Don't forget, this cable will be through there, out of that socket, into that socket, out of that socket, into that socket. And also we're going to run down to there because that's the only socket we're having in here, which is going to be for a heater, and then back out through that through the roof. This wall is going to have inset sockets into it because this wall here is just a dividing wall, an internal wall with no insulation in it. So that's going to have inset sockets. And after the guy's done the hygienic wall cladding, I'm thinking of getting somebody in to do that, just because of the size and how flexible the sheets are, or certainly someone to give me a hand. So we can put the sheets up and then we can put the cables through from there. So that's not a drama. So that last cable comes out of here, it'll then go around there. Nothing's tacked down yet. The first thing to do is just get it all in loose. Then it's going to come down here, and there's going to be a socket here, and also a socket on the floor. The socket on the floor there, down low, is going to be for the heater that's in this room, tube heaters. I'll talk about those when I put those in, and then it's going out. Now, the extractor is going in that corner. So, and I've decided now, I was going to put it on the floor, mount it on the floor, raised a little bit on anti-vibration mount, but I'm going to go with the putting it on casters. And the reason we're doing that is in this room through the winter, we'll be storing all the supers. And so I want to be able to push it out the way into the corner. Also, I'm not sure 100% exactly where the best place for it to be is. And because it's on casters, it can move around. But when it comes to plugging in, even though there'll be plenty of cable, I may plug in that one, or as you can see, the next one is down here, I may plug into that one. But I'm putting two in, gives me the option, but also it's future-proofing a bit, because I think at some point I might have a bottling machine. So the uncupping table, which is going along here, will also be on casters and can be pushed against the wall, and then we may have a bottling machine or something that we can then bring out also on casters, and we've got the sockets for it. Right, so out of there into there, down here for another socket, then it's coming out of there, it's going to go across the roof space and into the potting shed. It's then coming down here. No socket here, so this is one of those where, well, where do you put the cable? You can put the cable in the corner, or when it comes to windows and things, you can go around the outside of them. All right, because underneath here we're having 2 double sockets in here, which are for the propagators. So that will come down there, along there to the to that socket, and then back along and into the roof space. Then we'll come down down here in this corner to another double socket and a fused spur for the hand wash, water heat, hot water. We're going to have another, that's it, we'll have a double socket there, that's all we're having, and then through the roof space, and we'll have another double socket here on this side, and then back up into the consumer unit, which completes the ring main. This one here, and I suspect it's going to be the same for this one here, were the hardest two to put in, because it's right in the eaves and there's insulation above that. So you have to go through in the insulation, and trying to crawl in the roof space right into the edges was really difficult. So what we've got to do then is literally I've got to carry on pushing and pulling cable through until I get the cable back through that hole. And then what we'll do, we'll work our way back, making sure we've got enough slack for every socket. So next thing to do then is put the radio on and get on with it. Oh, on the subject of radio, I bought this at the start of the project, which is a Titan site radio. And I went with Titan because I have got a Titan chainsaw and lawnmower, so I already had the batteries because it was a bare unit. And I'm really impressed with that machine. It cost me, I think it's 20 quid, something like that. But it's got all of, it does Bluetooth if you want to listen to your podcasts, all your radio channels, etc, etc, and the battery lasts forever. Granted, it is a 5 amp one off of the lawnmower, but I think I've only changed the battery once, and even then I think it's because I needed the battery for the lawnmower, and that's it. So let's get the radio on and we'll crack on. So it's taken most of the morning, and we're finally there. We're finally back to the start. Boop, boop. What I'm going to do is that this cable, once I cut it, I'm going to put the tail of this through that hole, and then my lighting cable is going to go through that hole. So I put a knot in the end so we don't pull it through. Now we've got to the end. Now what we need to do is we need to work our way back through now, all the way through, pinning it, so securing it, the cables with cable clips, all the way back through, and then obviously leaving the enough cable to go into the actual sockets. So we still will probably need to pull more through, but now we can work our way back to the beginning. But that's after coffee, I think. Back again, Sunday morning, a little bit chilly. It's actually warmer outside than it is in the honey house. So obviously insulation is doing its stuff. It's only in the floor and the ceiling at the moment, but obviously the temperature at night drops it down, and the insulation's keeping it in. So that's quite encouraging. Once we get a bit of heat in here, it should be really nice and cozy. So where are we at? We've been up to the honey show. Great weekend. If you've not been to the honey show, I thoroughly recommend you go, even if you go for the day, because it's not just about the lectures. They're good. The workshops are great. But it's meeting other beekeepers, and it's getting around the stalls and actually getting your hands on the kit. So really good. So I'll let you know now what's happening. Next year, we're going to do a year in the life of a beekeeper. So every month I'm going to post a video or upload a video on what's happening, like January. So what will happen in January will be posted in February, what's happening in February, post March, and so on. So honey show and things like that, we'll talk about those in more detail next year. So back to the present, what we're doing. So I had a quick look at the bees. They're okay. Like I said before, we're in the process. We've got all the varroa treatments off. We're just about finished feeding, and if any do need any more, then we'll be going to fondant now, because it's starting to get a bit late in the season for them to do anything with the syrup. We're making. It's going to be now between now and Christmas. All the Christmas fairs are starting to come up, so it's just making candles. I don't have hundreds of molds, and I can just pour a load all at once. I've only got half a dozen, and they're quite expensive candle molds. So it's a case of making 6, and later on in the day making another 6, and so on and so forth. So we get some of this stuff out for the Christmas fairs, which are coming up. So we'll be doing that as well as what we're doing. And in terms of the honey house, we're still on the electrics, and let's have a look, see where we're up to with that. So I think the last update was the cable was in, and it was all the way around. So we'd started up in the where the consumer unit's in, and now the Twin and Earth, the 2.5 Twin and Earth, is now visiting every single outlet, and this one being the last one. So it come from here back to the consumer unit. So what we've done now is I've worked my way back now from the consumer unit, checking the cable, the complete entire length of the cable, making sure it's good, clipping it. So up in the loft space there, it's all clipped up exactly as it's supposed to be. And then when it comes to the in through the walls, you can see it's now clipped to the walls, which is good. Actually, I was showing Sparks, and he pointed out something which I've done, which I didn't point out to you. Whenever you're putting a hole in a noggin or a batten in order to put your cables through, don't be tempted to put it on the end so it's easier to run your cables down. You should always go in the middle so you don't upset the strength of the noggin or the batten. So holes always in the middle, and these ones are 18 mil holes, and 16 mil for a single cable, with enough slack left over to actually fit the socket when it needs fitting. So that goes all the way back. We got one there. Probably left a bit too much cable, a bit of a waste, but there we are. One there. Let's go in over there. There'll be one on that side. Then here we go. We're into the. You can see up there where it's been clipped up through the loft, and then we've got the 2 sockets here in the potting shed. Socket there, socket there. Then there's going to be one for the heater there, and it works its way all the way back. And as you can see, like we said, the cables are running vertically and horizontal. So we get to here. Not quite finished it here yet, because although this is clipped to here, there is a socket going down there, and this is the back of the wall of the honey house. It's going to be socket there, socket there, socket there. And I actually ran out of cable. So what's in is one entire length. But it's not the end of the world, because all we can do is, or what we will do when we come to do it is, once we fitted our socket in there, that'll obviously break in the cable, and then we can put a new piece of cable in to there, which is fine, because we're going to have access to the back of this wall for quite some time, because we want to get all the whatever we're going to be using on the wall actually in the honey house up, and then it's just much easier to put the cables through. So that's the 2.5 Twin and Earth. So the only other one then was the cabling for the lighting. So that's the 1 mil Twin and Earth. Let me get focused on that. Are they going to focus? No. So again, from the consumer unit, but this one, because we're only having one socket, 2 switches, which is going here. So there'll be a double switch here. One of the switches will do the store, and the other switch will do the honey house. There'll be 3 lights in the honey house and 1 in the store. So it actually doesn't need a ring main, because it's just one switch. Because if there's 2 switches, then what we would do, we'd run from here to this switch, and then from this switch to the next switch, and so on, and then back to the actual consumer unit. But it's only one, so it's running from there to the switch, and then what we'll do, we'll have then another 2 cables running from that switch, 1 to the light in the store and 1 to the lights in the honey house. The lights are coming, they'll be here early next week. So I've not put the cable in for it because I only intend to go back up in the loft once with both cables, but I'm not 100% sure with the lights that I've purchased where the actual cable fits into the light, because that'll make it won't make much difference, but it'll make a small amount of difference as to where the actual wherever the light goes, as to where the cable is going to come out the ceiling. So there's going to be one light running that way in the store, and then there'll be 3 lights running, one that way, one that way, one that way, because where we're going to be working is over here is a workbench. We've got the extracting and the uncapping will be on that side, so we want the lights to give us plenty of light there, and then one in the middle to light the whole rest of the room up. So lights have the light electric's not quite in yet. So what I've decided to do is, as well as do electrics for this video, is also talk about insulating the walls, because I can't do any more with the electrics until the walls are insulated. So that's what I'm going to be doing today, and probably for the next few days, is to get that insulation into the walls all the way around. We won't be putting the insulation in this wall yet. This, don't forget, that's the wall that's between the honey house and the potting shed, because it's, again, from the electrics point of view and the water point of view, it's going to be easier for me I can do the electrics from the other side before I put the insulation. But we will put, the boards will go up on this side, and some insulation where the electrics are not and the water's not will go in there. So that's where we're at today. So we've got the mask ready, and it's no different to the floor and the ceiling, except this time it's not in the horizontal, it's going to be in the vertical. Good morning. Another weekend, another full day at it. So we're still on the electricery. We're nearly finished our first fix now, so this video will be ending shortly. But we've that's consumer it. That's where the consumer is going. I think I showed you where all the cables were running for the sockets. So they're all in. These 3 cables that are coming down here, they're going into the wall there for the switch, and you've got, quite simply, one runs from there into the consumer unit, one runs from there to that light, which has been installed. That's the only one that's been installed at the moment, and then the other the other cable will run to 3 lights, which will be running in the actual honey house. You can see all the insulations in with the cables coming out where they need to be. Another one there. Nothing on that wall yet, because obviously we're going to push them in from the back. So all that's left to do on the first fix now is to get the cables into where the lights are going to go. So the cable's already up there. That's going to go into this junction box. That's open. Yeah, it's going to go into that junction box. Basically, you could put a hole through these. This is rubber. These are rubberized, these grommets. So there'll be one pushed through there, which will be the one that's off the actual switch, and then one pushed in there for the 3 others. They will be connected. Haunted mansion. Right. See that. All right, Lloyd, wave. So that was Sparkles, who's just come in to have a quick inspection to see where we're at, and then he'll come back in a bit. So basically everything we've done is good so far. One thing he did say was where you put a consumer or anything, depends what you're going to put on the front, to put a bit of ply or something behind it to connect the consumer unit. But when I told him in this room it's all going to be OSB, that's more than happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and, so the only thing that's left to do on first fix is to get the 3 cables in for the 3 lights. So I need to measure them, get the holes in, and then in the loft I'm going to actually make all the connections with the 3 cables. So I've got my junction box. This connects to one of the joists up there, then that will eventually sit on top of it. In here we've got these are rubber grommets, and you just push a hole into them for your cables. So there's going to be 4 cables, one for each light and one for the common that's coming in. And then we've got these push clips in 5s, and literally, so there's going to be 4 cables. There'll be 3 of these, one for the earth, one for the live, one for the neutral. And so all 4 brown cables go in one, all 4 blue in the other, and all 4 of the earth cable. Put a bit of earth sleeve in over the bare earth cables, and we'll connect all those up in there, and we'll put that in there in the loft, and we'll just leave that off. And then all Lloyd will do when he comes back, he'll just crawl into the loft where it is, have a look in there. If he's happy, put the cap on, job done. So yeah, we'll get on with that. That's the first job of today. And that is that. That is First Fix Electrics finished. Yeah, and I'm glad it is finished, because that's a lot of time up and down into the loft, crawling around in the dust, which is not a very nice job. But it's all done, it's all clipped in, it's all proper. Lloyd has just been up and had a look at that junction box. He's happy with that. So that is literally all done now. So that's it for the First Fix Electrics. The next part of that will be once we've got all the wet wall up on the inside of the honey house, then we'll start doing the second fix. I'll connect up all the sockets, but leave them all hanging. Lloyd can come around, check them, plug it all in, sort the consumer unit out, and get it switched on for us. So that's that. So that's the electrics finished. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you're still getting something out of this. The next one will only be a short video, because we're going to go straight on to First Fix Plumbing, and there ain't a lot of that. So we'll get on with that. That'll be the next video. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.